Winter forage. Our replicated research over the past 25 years has found that there are critical steps that determine whether you have 2 tons of dry matter yield or the 3 to 4 ton yield that farmers are now regularly achieving. 3 to 4 ton dry matter yield requires more careful management than just throwing out some seed and letting it grow as a cover crop on the right. The winter forage crop on the left responds to higher management. Winter triticale winter forage is rapidly spreading across the country as farmers realize it produces high yield forage. You get all the soil yield improvement benefits of cover crops, yet harvest some of the highest digestible forage we can grow in the U.S. It gives superior results in erosion control, retaining nutrients from leaching, improving soil health and structure, and controlling weeds without herbicides. The majority of our farms are planting winter triticale. Both triticale and rye are clearly superior to most wheat. New triticale varieties are ready to harvest almost as early as rye. Our research plots with full management average yields of 3.5 tons of dry matter per acre. Farms have gotten higher yields than that. Rye with any nitrogen to push yield and protein is notorious for lodging flat. Triticale is shorter with more tillers so it can take higher nitrogen, which returns an 18% crude protein forage at flagleaf stage without lodging. Cornell research has found that triticale holds its quality longer than rye or wheat, giving you a slightly bigger harvest window. We do not suggest a mix of rye and triticale. This farmer bought bin-run seed with rye mixed in. Does he harvest when the rye is at optimum quality and lose half or more of the triticale yield? Or does he harvest at peak triticale quality with rye straw mixed in? Been there, done that, don't do it. This is another reason not to use bin-run or variety not stated seed. Seed companies take special steps to preserve and enhance the germination of the seed on the left. The seed on the right did not have that care. It's sort of like buying a steer to breed your cows. It doesn't work. You don't save corn grain to replant next year. Why is winter forage any different? Replicated multi-year research has found that there is no statistical or monetary advantage to planting more than 100 pounds of seed per acre. As the graph shows, the old farmer salesperson statement to plant more seed if you plant later does not help and just wastes money. What has helped both early and late planting is the use of a 3-way seed treatment to enhance germination and fall growth. You can clearly see the difference in the above identical variety planted with and without treatment. All high-yield wheat growers use treated seed to increase yield. Why not the same for winter forage? Treating winter forage translated to 15% more yield for on-time planting and 28% more yield for late planting. Most drills have corrugated seed tubes that catch and hold the seed as you go over a bump. There are sleeve tubes you can purchase that prevent this from happening. Some of the newer drills now come this way with sleeve tubes. Converting our old drill to sleeve tubes gave us uniform stands that were superior to even a brand new drill that had corrugated tubes. Uniform stands give higher yields. Individual seed indexing like corn planters do is the next step to optimizing winter forage yields. If you don't have an indexing drill planter, at least use smooth drop tubes. Triticale is not like rye. It does best at a correct depth of 1 to 1.5 inches in the ground. The top photo, the winter forage was planted too shallow and grew very poorly in the spring. The bottom photo, the same field, planted at correct depth, grew rapidly in the spring warmth. Potential winter forage yield depends on planting date and fall nitrogen, which you control, and fall weather, which you do not control. This impacts a number of tillers which, with spring nitrogen and moisture, sets the yield that you will achieve. The biggest factor we've found to maximize spring yields is the fall planting date. The optimum is 2 weeks before your zone's wheat planting date. Our multi-year research clearly shows that planting date and fall biomass production results are drivers of yield, erosion protection, nutrient recapture and storage, suppresses weeds, and how early the crop is harvestable the next spring. Planting 2 weeks before the wheat planting date, coupled with fall nitrogen, optimizes a number of fall tillers. This sets your spring yield potential. On-time planting 2 weeks before wheat grain returned 30% higher yield. It also meant the winter forage reached optimum harvest flag leaf stage up to a week earlier than winter forage planted later in the fall. To achieve on-time planting 2 weeks before wheat, you may need to shorten the season corn you grow. The slightly reduced yield on the corn is more than offset by a higher total yield that has more milk per ton than the corn you gave up. Shorter season corn plus winter forage means 25 to 35% more yield per acre from the same ground. The second biggest yield factor significantly increasing spring yields is adding up to 60 pounds of nitrogen at on-time fall planting. This is much less effective on later plantings. We do not suggest that manure be applied before planting, as University of Pennsylvania and our research found you can lose more by delaying planting than you gain by manure. We do not suggest top dressing manure, as it loses over 70% of the available nitrogen and potentially contaminates the forage when ensiled. Following corn silage that has been heavily spring manured, on-time planting of triticale could capture as much as 60 pounds of nitrogen left in the soil in the fall. Early planting and fall nitrogen will not produce a lush growth susceptible to winter kill. Winter kill is from snow mold that grows in the low areas where water from winter thaws accumulate. Ideally, the stand goes into the winter at 8 to 10 inches tall. This maximizes the tillers and protects the crown from winter injury. You need to use the right seed, planted on time, fertilized with fall nitrogen, and that will set you up for a high spring yield potential. Going into the winter, the crop needs to completely cover the inter-row area for maximum benefit.